This is the story of the time a radio station's contest encouraging people to hold their pee accidentally killed a woman. I recently asked you guys what you wanted me to talk about, and this was the number one answer, which really says something about the kind of topics you guys are into. I just did a video about the Dave Matthews Band poop incident, and now you're asking for this. But who am I to say no to the demands of the people? So, at the risk of this becoming the Poo Poo Pee Pee channel, let's talk about it. The radio station behind all of this was Sacramento's KDND 107.9, also known as The End. It was called that because it was the last channel on the FM radio range, not because KND sounds like end, as some outlets reported, and not because it ultimately caused the end of a desperate Nintendo fan. But that was, in fact, what happened on January 12th, 2007. 2 months prior, Nintendo had released the Wii gaming console in North America to absolutely glowing reviews. They also released these weird but charming commercials where Japanese men would show up at a white family's house and deliver them a Wii. And those commercials worked, because the craze around the console was insane. In its first year, the Wii was selling better than the PS3 and Xbox 360 combined. Everyone was trying to get their hands on one. But in real life, Japanese men were not going to show up at your house and give you a Wii. And with the console outselling Nintendo's own projections, a Wii was hard to find. Which is what compelled KDND to take advantage of the public's obsession during their popular morning show, Morning Rave. They held a contest called Hold Your Wii for a Wii, and the 18 contestants who entered were encouraged to go without urinating for as long as possible, with the winner receiving a brand new $250 Nintendo Wii. To make things more difficult, contestants were given a regular supply of water. When the competition began, the station gave everyone an 8-ounce bottle of water every 10 minutes, giving them 2 minutes to drink it. And I'm sure to some of you water fanatics watching this, the contest sounds like a breeze. But as the contestants kept drinking, the water started to add up. And while some of them began dropping out, others were absolutely determined to win that Wii. Among those determined contestants was the 28-year-old Jennifer Strange, who worked at a radiology practice and was also a mother of 3. Strange told the other contestants that she had entered the contest in hopes of winning a Wii for her children. And while other participants were calling it quits, she kept on drinking and holding. Meanwhile, the DJs at KDND were having a jolly old time watching these contestants struggle. They spent their time interviewing the people involved and taking calls from listeners. One of those listeners was a nurse practitioner by the name of Judy Linder, who called the station with her coworker Eva to tell them that this was a horrible idea. Eva said on the broadcast, "I want to say that those people drinking all that water can get sick and die from water intoxication." To which the DJs replied, "Yeah, we're aware of that. They signed releases, so we're not responsible, okay?" And you can tell that they were not about to let a couple of killjoy nurses ruin the fun for everyone with their safety warnings. One of the hosts even pondered, "Your body is 98% water. Why can't you take in as much water as you want?" Glad they had the big brains in the room for this one. If you're wondering how drinking too much water can kill someone, it basically causes the electrolytes in your body to be thrown off so badly that it can result in brain swelling, seizures, and heart failure. In fact, the DJs actually knew about this before the contest began. 40 minutes prior to the kickoff of Hold Your Wii for a Wii, the DJs were on the show discussing the death of Matthew Carrington, a student at Cal State University Chico who died of water intoxication in 2005 after a hazing ritual required him to drink gallons of water and perform calisthenics. Carrington's death was actually so bad that it resulted in the creation of Matt's Law in California, which allowed injuries from hazing rituals to be prosecuted as a felony. And when one of the DJs mentioned this death, which was only 2 years prior, another one replied, "Yeah, well, he was doing other things." Because we all know that drinking too much water is only bad if you're also exercising. Once the contest started, the DJs continued to joke about it. One of them asked another, "Is anyone dying in there?" and received the reply, "We got a guy who's just about to die," to which the first DJ said, "Make sure he signs the release." Now, of course, none of this would have mattered if nothing had happened. It would have been viewed as another standard installment in the lore of the Sacramento shock jock scene. But unfortunately, Jennifer Strange was in the early stages of water intoxication. After 8 rounds of 8-ounce bottles, the remaining contestants were upgraded to 16-ounce water bottles to drink every 10 minutes. And Jennifer Strange managed to drink 10 of those bottles as the contest continued, until it was just her and another woman remaining. Finally, Strange could not go on. She dropped out and ended the contest as the runner-up. In total, she had consumed 224 ounces of water, which is almost 2 gallons, without using the bathroom once. After the contest was over, she was interviewed by the DJs. In a groggy state, she said, "My head hurts. They keep telling me, though, that it's the water, that it will tell my head to hurt and then it will make me puke." Jennifer was then escorted from the room where they were holding the contest into the studio itself, where one of the hosts remarked that her stomach had grown so much that she looked 3 months pregnant, which is something that every woman loves to hear. Jennifer was then asked if she wanted to lie down, to which she said, "I could probably drink more if you guys could pick me up. Do you want me to? What can I get?" And you really have to respect her dedication to winning this Wii. They should have at least given her a nunchuck for her troubles. In fact, she did actually win something as the runner-up of the contest: 2 tickets to Justin Timberlake's concert at Arco Arena that same night. But sadly, Jennifer Strange never managed to see JT. Upon leaving the studio a little after 9:30, she called a coworker and told them she couldn't come in that day, as she had a headache and was feeling dizzy. Jennifer then went home to lie down. Another coworker was concerned about her and called Jennifer's mom to ask that she check on Jennifer. And when Jennifer's mom showed up to check on her, she found Jennifer dead in her house around 2 p.m. Upon hearing about her death, KDND immediately suspended everyone involved with Morning Rave to investigate what had happened. Although it doesn't sound like much investigation was needed, considering all the evidence was broadcast to the entirety of Greater Sacramento. 4 days after the contest, KDND announced that they had fired 10 employees, including 5 on-air personalities, and had canceled Morning Rave entirely, which saved everyone from having to hear the next episode start with the most uncomfortable apology of all time, followed by them playing Temperature by Sean Paul. A woman who works at the station was quoted saying that the mood is pretty somber around here. The whole thing is just a tragedy. And she also added, "We're going to pull through." Well, I'm glad to hear the radio station is going to pull through. That was my biggest concern about the situation. Because all of the contestants agreed to participate willingly, the people responsible were not convicted of a crime. But the husband of Jennifer Strange did take the station to court, filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the company that owns KDND. While the trial was going on, the station began airing promos announcing that they were making a change and would be, quote, saying goodbye in the following days. It was assumed that the station would be shutting down, but it turned out they were talking about saying goodbye to commercials on Tuesdays as they introduced their new ad-free programming once a week. Feel like they could have picked a better time to run that campaign. Then again, we're still talking about those commercial-free Tuesdays years later, so maybe it was all part of the plan. The company that owns KDND was ultimately found guilty, and Jennifer's family was awarded $16.5 million, bringing their total compensation for the whole ordeal to $16.5 million plus 2 Justin Timberlake tickets. 2 of the DJs actually sued the station for wrongful termination, which feels a bit ridiculous considering they wrongfully terminated a woman's life. They settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. All 3 of the Morning Rave DJs have since gone on to host other radio shows in different parts of the country. It's kind of like when a cop gets fired for police brutality and the union just relocates him to another state. This whole story is pretty similar to another contest-related death during Finland's World Sauna Championships in 2010, when a man died from staying in the sauna for too long. Needless to say, that was the last year of the World Sauna Championships. This was actually another story that you guys wanted me to talk about, but it's somehow even more depressing than the whole pee thing, so we'll leave it at that. To end on a more positive note, KDND was ultimately shut down after some public petitioning for their FCC license to be revoked in response to Jennifer's death. But that didn't happen until 2017, and the company only returned their license because they were merging with another company anyway. But I guess we can consider that a minor victory, although not as minor as winning a Nintendo Wii for drinking 2 gallons of water in a contest where the runner-up died. Here's hoping the champion enjoyed a few games of Mario Party 8. Now please consider subscribing, or I'll enter you into the swallowing knives in a pool of lava competition.